Every time we do these shows live with just me, when it's an Ask Me Anything show, I always wonder, should I wear the headphones? Because ultimately, I want you to see my ears, everybody. Not really. Do I have an ear thing? I don't have an ear thing. So, hey, I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. If you could like, subscribe, hit the alert bell across everything, that's super helpful. Most specifically on the CoinGeek related stuff or my personal stuff, you can subscribe to me on Only Kurt's. Just kidding. No, hit across YouTube, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. I don't know if LinkedIn lets you subscribe to anything, but if you could go ahead and do the clickety click and let the cyber overlords know that you wish to consume our content consistently and forever, it would definitely make everyone very, very happy. One thing real quick, I'm getting some severe weather alerts. So if all of a sudden everything goes hazy, I probably haven't been assassinated, and in all likelihood it is just simply some thunder and lightning. But it looks nice outside based on my quick view of the outdoors. But they keep pinging me, so if all of a sudden I disappear, that's what's up. So blame God? So I don't know. Okay, so this is an Ask Me Anything show. So what I need you to do is take a deep breath. It's time for ASMR hour here on the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. And so yeah, okay, for the people asking, I don't really have cauliflower ear. I can see Uncle Josh already, Mr. Face, and he's got a few nicknames here. I don't have cauliflower ear. My ears they're harder, but they never got puffy, despite the fact that I have now been doing martial arts for like 20 years. I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 15, and I get the people who are like, "Come on, do you even train, man? Look at those ears." I don't know. I don't know what it is. I was there last night. One of my white belts was asking me if I could drain their ear, and they've been training for like 9 months. It just happens to some people and does not happen to others. So I'm gonna put these back on so I can hear the cues. My my producer likes to whisper encouragement in my ear when he sees me starting to fall apart. So again, like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, all that jazz. So we are doing an Ask Me Anything show. That means you can ask me absolutely anything. I would prefer to talk mostly about Bitcoin, but if anybody's got anything else really interesting they want to talk about, it can be the news and views of the day. It can be a little bit of politics I will touch on. I'll do some politics, and then we can talk about whatever else you want to. Music, TV. I'm not real hip on those things anymore because I've come to realize I'm now middle-aged, and so I don't know what the cool kids are up to anymore. But I will talk about whatever you want to talk about. You just got to put it in the box. Typically on YouTube, it's easiest to manage the conversation from YouTube, but it also works if you comment, I think, on my personal X or on the CoinGeek X account, at which this is simulcast. So we do need to thank our sponsors, one of which is Rock Wallet. I'm showing off the chest, the money stablecoin. I am wearing an I Love Money shirt, which is not entirely untrue, but so Rock Wallet is our longest running sponsor here on the show. It is a completely non-custodial wallet. They give you your private keys. I'm pretty sure that means it's BIP39 enabled, which gives you a passphrase from which you can derive your private keys and public keys and have a hierarchical, which is the worst word ever, deterministic wallet, meaning you can cycle your keys and use a new public key for every transaction, but also it allows you to move your coins to another wallet if necessary. So if Rock Wallet goes out of business completely, you still have your coins as long as you still have your phrase, and you can use the BIP39 enabled other wallet in order to find all your coins. So they are very cool. Rock Wallet is a solid piece of technology. I get some people that get a little bit concerned, or they get a little I don't know, they just get goofed up over the fact that they want you to sign up and give a little bit of information. The reason for that is because it has a built-in exchange tool. And the built-in exchange tool is for your convenience, but is not an absolute necessity. So you can actually bypass that stuff if you never use the wallet for doing any exchanging. So if you don't intend to exchange there, you can use the wallet in a totally self-sovereign sense. But if you're going to use the exchange tools, you do have to comply ever so slightly with basic KYC AML regulations. And it is what it is. But we use it. I use it personally. We use it at Gorilla Pool. It's a really good tool. They are also the folks behind the money stablecoin. or it's a conglomeration of folks, largely led by and associated to Rock Wallet, but Money Cash. Check them out on X as well. But I'm rocking the I Love Money T-shirt. I'm sure they would be happy to sell you one or something. I don't know. I actually don't know if they would, but I got this one because I got to hang out with them recently. So my producer appears to be having some network issues. So I don't know if he can hear me now, but I just got a text message instead of a private chat, which has me just a little bit concerned. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my article today as we let him reboot or give me thumbs up. In fact, Mr. Producer, if you could give me some kind of indication as to whether or not you're actually in control of the show or not, or if I just need to keep talking until further notice, let me know. This is also the issue of having my producer living pretty nearby, is that when we get bad weather here in South Florida, well, it hits both of us at the same time. So that's got its own issues. So my article today. Stop LARPing. For those of you who don't know what a LARP is, it is an acronym. LARP stands for Live Action Role Player. Now, this is the kind of thing that you would call a furry or a cosplayer or, something along that line. People that like to dress up as something else because they just can't deal with the reality of, I am stuck in this body forever. And so they pretend to be something else. And I think this is something that is pervasive across a lot of things. Increasingly, especially if you drive. So if you ever drive across the country, and I'm a road tripper, I like to road trip. It's been a little bit since I've done a good road trip, but every time I do it, I am blown away by the fact that you see these towns that 50 years ago were vibrant, maybe even 10 years ago were vibrant, and they are super, super quiet. And the reason is there is no room for entry-level work, given the way that the economy has gone. Inflation has gone so far one direction, and the way that assets and equity and housing prices and rent, all this other stuff has come together, has made it that, you know what? I just simply can't bust tables or sweep floors or answer phones or do basic note-taking in an office. Like, there are no opportunities for entry-level work because nobody can deal with the opportunity cost of not working full-time. Something shiny on my head that I can see. So you get people who look at it and say, yeah, I could work at a restaurant, or I could drive for Uber, Instacart, DoorDash, whatever else. Or I can be trading on Robinhood, and I can be, having AI do bids on Fiverr. And if I get 2 a day, like, all of a sudden you're making a lot more money on this. Not to mention, if you're pretty girl or whatever, you've got like things like OnlyFans and stuff are these opportunities that are like, okay, well, I could be making 10 times as much money doing weird stuff on the internet versus me working my way up in a career. Now, that comes with all of its own problems. You're a contractor, which means you're actually technically a business owner, which means healthcare benefits. It means you have to deal with all this other stuff in your real life as part of being a business owner, even though it just kind of feels like you're this gig working. I used the word, and I'm going to pronounce it very precisely here for the sake of the censors and whatnot, is a gigger. Okay, so if you're one of these people that works in gigs full time, you are working in this full time. Like, you're technically working full time, but you're actually working lots of little part time contractor gigs, and so now you're living this crazy life that it doesn't really compute to, hey, this is a fulfilling life career. So I talk about all the ways that has pervaded into the real world economy and into the culture that we live in, but also how it has made its way into Bitcoin. And maybe they're actually sort of influencing each other. We're seeing, like, crypto in general, it has influenced its way all the way up to, you got Donald Trump out here pumping Trump coin and Melania coin. And that was a little bit like, okay, maybe that's over because we haven't heard much about, like, the crypto nonsense in a bit. And then he just brought it up again the other day. And so we're still kind of talking about, hey, it's Trump on Solana, it's tremendous. And then, all this other crap going on that just makes me feel like, okay, nothing in the world is serious anymore. So you've got LARPing about things like Lightning Network forever. It's been 18 months for 10 years now. People will argue, it's not only does it work, I use it every day and all this stuff. But then we've also got our own thing going on with like Teranode. So over here in I make a challenge to everybody who's like, hey, Teranode's going to fix the world. I actually used Teranode as a verb. Like, we can't Teranode our way out of this stuff. Like, somebody's got to do the work, right? And so that's the ultimate challenge of my article. If you would read it, it is my pinned post on X. I would really appreciate it if you read it and give me a little bit of feedback so that we can do a little bit of the back and forth. I love to chit chat with you on the socials. So everybody, thank you for doing that. What's up, RamG101? What is up, Emilio Morao? I love the Portuguese names, even though I don't have the throat to pronounce all of that so much. I wish I was better at it. What's up, Casey? You are my favorite Hamilton by far. Most Hamiltons are deserve to be assassinated by Aaron Burr in my experience. Carbon Craft, how are you, my friend? I'm gonna say, hey, what's up again, Uncle Josh? Cool wallet, yes, rock wallet. Thank you, everybody, for the rock wallet. What's up, Mr. Eric Bolinsky? What's up, Joey Two Guns? Olaf from sunny Northwest Florida, my panhandle pal. Misters, just saying Kurt. All right, what's up? And Mr. Manifestable, how you doing? Manifestable? How you doing, Brett? Okay, let's cut to an ad briefly. Okay, so we're going to do the ad. Please queue up the questions. Mr. Producer, this is his first Ask Me Anything show, so we're really going to run him through the paces here, all right? He's going to pick the questions, but you need to get them past Mr. Producer here, and Mr. Producer is going to put them up on the screen, and I am going to wax philosophical, and I'm going to attempt to answer them with what's the term there, Lewis? What do we call it? I don't know. Sorry, I'm in a weird mood today. So let's cut to the Rock Wallet ad, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Be right back. So I get DMs from people saying, is Kurt okay? and I promise you, I really have not ever been better in my whole life. I am feeling great, good shape. Get all my blood tests back recently. All my stuff is great, feeling great. Father of 3, happily married. Stuff is good. So when I'm goofing around, I really am just goofing around. Thank you for your concern, but I am actually getting DMs from people being like, Kurt, you seem manic. No, I'm enjoying my time on the air, and I really like doing this show. This is actually something that I do for fun, on top of it being, a significant part of my career. The media stuff is work, but I've always loved media. I've been doing it for about 20 years now. In fact, I think I had my first radio appearance in 2003. I was still in high school and looking to get into college radio, and somebody said, hey, you want to hop on a microphone? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like 17. Popped in, and I have always had the bug ever since. So really good to be here again, everybody. So thank you. Let's start hammering these questions away. Let's start grabbing them. Please ask the questions here. Let's get them past Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer, fire away. What is the first question? Wild West crypto. How would you describe the ease of building new games or apps with what Project Babbage is trying to do? Non-dev guy here. So This is not a great question for me, unfortunately. So, Mr. Producer, sorry, that's not good. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Bring it back up. Okay, no, it's a good question. The reason I say that is I have not personally used the Project Babbage stack. Reason is that over at Gorilla Pool, we are very partial to Bitcoin schema, and in a very technical sense, they're kind of competing stacks. Both are attempting to be very, very open and modular, so they actually will interoperate to quite a significant degree. So we're not like competitive in that if one wins, the other loses. It's just a little more opinionated both directions, but technically both will largely work with each other. So you can use part of the Babbage stack and part of like the Bitcoin schema stack and that kind of thing, and they will work pretty well together, especially in regards to things like tokens. Like one-set ordinals are really just Bitcoins at the end of the day, and so they're largely compatible. That being said, because I'm not a personal user of the Project Babbage stack, I really can't speak from experience, but what I can say is that just based on working alongside Ty and tangentially with his team, our team has developed like the Go SDK, for example, in association with BSV or BSVA rather, and they as in Babbage created TypeScript SDK, and so we have had to work collaboratively in both of those things. And like basically when we get into the nitty gritty of, okay, why did you do this thing that way? And we have a conversation about it. We say, oh, that's the logical way that we would have done it. Very nice. And so we've had like essentially zero arguments about implementation stuff over the last year or so. And so it is, basically it's probably great, essentially, at least from my standpoint, because every time I've dug into anything over at Project Babbage, I have not had any, fundamental disagreements. And it is when you build really low level with Bitcoin in focus, the thing that comes across is simplicity. And with simplicity comes ease of development, speed to deployment and that kind of thing. And so I would expect all of it to be good to great, but you would have to do your own research, unfortunately. But thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. But let's take another one. Is ElectrumSV up and running? So what's the right analogy for this? Okay, Electrum itself, like Bitcoin Electrum, circa, I don't even know when that started, 2011 or 12 or something. It's early, very early technology. It uses a type of overlay technology in order to listen to the blockchain and then filter out data, UTXO data specifically, that is compliant with like an Electrum standard in order to serve wallet data to people in a very specific style. ElectrumSV is a fork of, I think, Electron Cash, which is itself a fork of Electrum Core, which is what's used on BTC. So we have BTC, BCH, and BSV all using essentially the same idea in order to filter for UTXOs and serve them to you. And with those UTXOs are other things like BIP39 compliance and was my passphrase going to work forever and blah, blah, blah. The answer is that somebody does need to serve you that data unless you run your own node. So on the BTC side, you've always, if you're a small blocker, you can be sure that you can run a BTC node on your wife's boyfriend's computer, and then you can sync up Electrum and you can always get your coins back. That's the world they want to live in. And so small blocks allow that to happen pretty trivially and pretty easily because that's what they care about. On the flip side, on BSV, we have this ethos based on Satoshi Nakamoto's own writing that ultimately nodes consolidate into data centers, server farms, that kind of thing. In that scenario, it becomes impractical until it becomes impossible for you to run your own node, at which point you need to run some kind of light client that serves data from the center of the network out to you. This is where Electrum on BSV ultimately has a weakness in that you have to rely on somebody who is running a full node to serve you Electrum data. Now, the Electrum project on BSV, ElectrumSV, is no longer maintained. The guy that was maintaining it got tired of maintaining it. He was not being paid any longer. BSVA was funding him for a while and then ultimately decided they wanted to go a different direction. The reason they want to go a different direction is Electrum is old technology. It is outdated and it does not sufficiently scale. That being said, there is nothing on BSV right now that makes it that Electrum can't work right now. And so Gorilla Pool for the foreseeable future, which is the only entity of infrastructure that I have any say over, being a founder of Gorilla Pool myself, we will continue to serve an Electrum server for the foreseeable future. Gorilla Pool uses ElectrumSV for various internal things at our company. And so at the very least, we need to use Electrum for our own purposes. And so we run an Electrum server. As long as that is the case, your ElectrumSV wallet, if you do not update or break it in some way, will continue to work on BSV. We will make an announcement if we decide, you know what, we're just going to turn off this Electrum server. It's not going to be like, hey, we turned it off and we're sorry. We'll probably give you some decent notice here, like 60 days or something. Like, hey guys, this is really becoming untenable. Or like, hey, volume is such on the network that it's become untenable really quickly and we're really sorry. But even in that scenario, we just need to, put out a bunch of notifications for people and then help people claim their coins and move them to some other infrastructure or whatever. But I don't see that happening for... If all of a sudden the average block size is up at like 10 gigabytes or something, that's when you should start to make some kind of a plan for a better wallet situation. But until then, I don't think it matters. That's kind of my thing. ElectrumSV is a good product for now, and it probably will be for the foreseeable future. Deep Dreams, thank you. I have a question. Will traditional HD wallets with multiple addresses and seeds still be a good option for self-storage when big adoption starts? So this is a similar problem. All of those things. So when you've got multiple addresses that need to be queried and seed phrases. So seed phrases are derived from private keys, which are both things that essentially a full node needs to listen for. They got to find it on chain. So they're querying the chain. And then ultimately, here's the funny thing about cryptography is that when you have a private key and you want to derive public keys from a private key, that number is near infinite mathematically, right? So you can have public keys that just generate like 1 million an hour forever. And so what is the top number? Well, at some point, SHA-256 like runs out of space, but that's in, I don't even know, trillions, quadrillions. Like you could have just an absurd number of public key hashes can be derived from a private key. So how do we find all your coins? Well, a node will make assumptions on probable public keys that probably exist on private keys, and it will just check those. It will query them. It is imperfect, but it's close enough to perfect that it probably doesn't matter. But that is work that needs to be done. Now, if we are in a paradigm where there is suddenly 1 million transactions a second, or 60 million transactions a minute, or what does it turn into? 1.2 billion transactions an hour, or something like it. That number could be wrong. So when we get past a certain amount of zeros, my brain stops doing the math easily. But yes, it starts to become untenable for a node to just check, hey, is this your coin? 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 And so ultimately, things like BIP39 and stuff will get phased out, presuming that things like BSV, scalable blockchain, like scalable UTXO-based blockchain is a thing. But again, these are conversations that you can start to worry about when our average block size is, 10 gigabytes or something like that. So if we start seeing like a serious uptick in volume, like that's when you can start to worry about sort of legacy infrastructure around wallets and some of that kind of stuff. But good question. But again, not a thing to worry about right this moment. Next one, Eric Bolinsky. Kurt, why do some people say Teranode is already out and some people seem to still be waiting? So like a lot of things, this is a both and. It's like, are you your mind or your body or your spirit? So here's the thing. If you are a infrastructure partner in the network, meaning you mine, do you mine BSV? You have had the ability to access Teranode for something like 6 months. It's been a couple of seasons here. Over at Gorilla Pool, we've been testing alongside BSVA. We've been helping, and it's been great. Now, part of that testing is just checking RPC calls, checking API stuff, just kind of, hey, is it stable? What happens when we get past a few, like there's a lot of weird data on stuff. So like Dean Little a few years ago, like mined a 0 sat token that was very, very unorthodox. And so using all the standard scripts and stuff, when you try to sync your Teranode to it, it looks at it and says, WTF is this thing? And you got to work on that. And so that's like a basic bug fix that needs to be done. But you need to sync the node a bunch of times to sort of get it to jump past a bunch of those hurdles. And so we've been doing stuff like that. We report any bugs we find. BSVA asks us, like, when they see something, hey, did this bug you? Is this something that's only occurring on our instance, or is it something that's happening globally? And this is all kind of happening collaboratively among Tal and Gorilla Pool and a couple other people that are involved, and then being coordinated by the Teranode team over at BSVA. It's been really, frankly, like, weirdly pleasant in that, I think a lot of people are used to this process being a little bit like, hey, what's happening right now? And it's been great. So from our experience, and looking about when everybody's like, when Teranode, I'm thinking like, man, we are working on Teranode stuff every day because we're one of the companies on Earth that will be running Teranode. Now, if you are not in the business of BSV related infrastructure, you won't be running a Teranode. You don't have a reason to. You don't actually have any incentive to. There's probably not any economic reason at all for you to want to run this software. And so for regular people, it just is not out. It is not public. It is not currently open source because it is in development. Now, that being said, I've heard whispers and rumors, and I don't know anything that isn't said publicly. They are not leaking information to me like, Kurt, hey, add to the whisper campaign on this stuff. So I can't speak to exactly when that's done, but there's been some heavy whispering. Is that a little creepy? But there's been some heavy whispering that Q1 is still in play, which puts us at not too long from right now, as in like days, not weeks, in order to get that out. And I don't see a reason why that won't. But I'm not in the know. I do not know any information that isn't public about the ultimate release that will be made open source. Final thought on that. It will be open source for anybody to audit the code. Now, here's the big reason why you would want to keep it closed source as you go through as many bugs as humanly possible. The reason is as soon as it is made open source, you're going to have every single small blocker on Earth wants to dig through it, look for lines of code that are written backwards, or the comma's in a wrong spot, or like, why did they do this one this way? And then you'll get your more malicious type saying, okay, let's see what happens if we start querying for 2 minutes. Let's see if we can DOS the network down. You have to assume that there will be a significant number of malicious actors on top of just a lot of, Monday morning quarterback types. Like we have our neck-bearded Blockstream co-founder, whose name I'm tired of saying, frankly. I've had a couple people say, why do you always bring up the G-Man, Mr. GM himself? And I said, you know what? Maybe that meme is dead. Maybe if I stop talking about him, he'll just go away. So I'm not going to mention his name anymore, but I'm sure he'll be ready to go through this with a fine-tooth beard comb and let us know all the ways he would have made it better. And so anyways, I expect it to be soon. Everybody has said it'll be open source. That moment is itself imminent, but again, I don't know exactly when. So like I said, it's a bit of a both and. It is already out. It has already mined blocks. It's already listening to the network. Like it's out. It is not currently public for anybody on Earth to audit, and so it's like limbo, I guess, in that regard. But I expect that to change. ICP versus BSV. Why does BSV win? I'm admittedly not an expert on ICP, so I can only speak to it to the degree that I understand what ICP is. So ICP is Internet Computer. ICP is the token that runs on the network, just like BSV is the token that runs on Bitcoin on the BSV blockchain. But the differences on them are deeply fundamental. As I understand it, ICP is not a UTXO-based chain. In my opinion, there is nothing more important than a UTXO-based system on which you can build script in order to launch transaction-driven applications. Okay, ICP, again, as I understand, I could be getting my getting my things mixed up and backwards here, but as I understand it, ICP uses a global state model similar to Ethereum. I know it's not precisely like Ethereum, but it is a similar concept to Ethereum in that global state needs to be maintained. And anytime you need to maintain global state you're slowing down the entirety of the network. You're making the network's speed uncompetitive. So nobody can compete on speed because ultimately state is the thing that needs to jump forward. Not each node, not each block. It is the state of the chain that needs to jump forward. And when you do that, the compromise is speed, scalability. Now, the reason you would do that is it's really easy to program if you have a global state. You just can query state for all kinds of things. It allows you to make really juicy smart contracts really simply. But the problem with that is that it ultimately, you have a scaling bottleneck. So that's your big trade-off is simplicity to program versus scalability. So I would argue that if something like ICP were to attempt to adopt a very big customer that needed 10 billion transactions a day, it would not be capable of managing that, whereas on BSV, it would be. Now, the programmability would be very different, but there's a reason why BSV uses an actual stack-like system, very similar to how the internet itself is built, in that you have your base database, you have your network above that, and then above that network, you would have your application level, various indexers, those kind of things. But without getting too technical, they're fundamentally very different concepts. One is more scalable and the other is easier to program. That's where we're at. Next one, please. How would you describe the ease of building new game? Oh, we already did this one. Let's do another one. We're not bringing back Wild West crypto. Another one, please. How can BSV position itself as infrastructure for stablecoins now that Trump has suggested they move from offshore to U.S. regulated banks? Can Overlay support this use case? Yes, they can. So yes, the funny thing is actually all that work is done. So you could, or we could, or anyone could go ahead and make a deal with a local bank or a local consortium of people that want to be doing trade with one another and issue a stablecoin. Apparently a legally compliant stablecoin, as Brett has suggested. The Trump people have said, like, yeah, stablecoin's good. Do a stablecoin. So by all means, if you want to make your intercompany settlement easier, faster, better in some way by using stablecoins, you can just do it. The infrastructure is there. You can just use the money stablecoin. I love money. You can go do that right now. And it's integrated into Rock Wallet and Yours Wallet and a bunch of other stuff. Like you could do this today, actually. So not a reason not to. Go for it. Is it profitable to mine on BSV? Do you encourage more mining or mining pools to secure the chain? So the very short answer is no. The longer answer is, but it's also not profitable to mine on any other chain either. So mining economics right now are completely broken. It is not the fault of the miners, or really it's not the fault of almost anybody, except for the thing that I keep beating my drum about for about the last decade now, is that we need more business on chain. There has to be more volume on chain, and that volume can be anything. The miners don't really care what the volume is, but but it has to be something. And so until we get to the point where we're making 10, 15, 20, my goal has always been 50, the original Bitcoin subsidy. So you got 50 coins per block for the first 4 years of Bitcoin. Not getting anywhere near that on any version of Bitcoin today. And so you have two options. Either the price goes up exponentially forever, like really, really rapidly, or the block size has to grow immensely in order to make up the shortfall that exists in mining BTC, BCH, BSV, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is your whatever, Caspa, Litecoin, Doge, freaking Bells coin, like all these other things. Nobody's using any of these blockchains for any real business. And so the only people that are making any money at all, there's two groups of people. It is the people who are financializing the asset and the network in some way. So this is your exchanges or your ETF managers that are taking management fees and all that kind of stuff. Those people are making money. And then people that are in the mining industry, but not the mining people in the mining industry, but the people doing like stuff related to the power industry. So this is your electrician is making killer money. The guys that are installing pods and doing that kind of work, they're making good money. And then the people that are negotiating power curtailment contracts or carbon credit contracts or that kind of thing, they're making money. But none of it is because of Bitcoin. Nobody's making money on the Bitcoin part of mining Bitcoin, or really anything else. So if you want to get wealthy by doing anything, it is by being in the power management side of the mining industry, or it is in the exchanging or financialization, both of which are very, very hard to break into because they are big siloed industries. That being said, I will be at Mining Disrupt tomorrow. So if you are in the Fort Lauderdale area, it's going to be right adjacent to the Hard Rock Hotel over in, just west of Fort Lauderdale. We'll be there interviewing people and meeting babies, shaking babies, meeting hands. I don't know, kissing hands. Yeah, no, we're going to be at Mind Disrupt and shooting a little content for CoinGeek and doing some guerrilla dealing while I'm over there. But ultimately, no, the real problem starts with the fact that there is very, very little business volume. I also mentioned this in my article this week, and we really got to do something about it, or literally all of us are going to fail. This is from BSV all the way up to BTC. If we cannot get lots and lots and lots more transaction volume on these networks, I'm not seeing it yet. So everybody's got to work quite a bit harder. Get to work, people. Next one, please. More miners is always good for decentralization, though, correct? Even though BSV is not going to be good for home nodes, it's still good to have as many large mining farms as possible. Yeah, it's sort of a net neutral, honestly. You want there to be more than one, but I don't know that there's necessarily a lot to be said for more than maybe 10, 12. Now, it depends if we're talking about hash power specifically or if we're just talking about nodes in general. Like, it really, I'd be very happy to have like between 6 and 12 full nodes that are mining blocks in a given, day or two, right? Because that's fewer things that need to connect to each other. They can connect to each other more efficiently. If anybody understands how like the old world economy works, like how does like the New York Stock Exchange communicate with some of these like trading desks around the world, they run direct fiber between the exchange and the firm. And the reason for that is because you need like sub-microsecond execution of things to make this stuff work. This is what the global finance system works like. And in stark contrast to like what BTC people are doing, which is like, yeah, man, I'm peer-to-peer. It only takes like 4 seconds for a transaction to like propagate the network or whatever. That's nuts. That is like exponentially too slow to be good for anything at the scale to compete with global finance. And so you want there to be a relatively small number of nodes, so like 6 in a cluster, and they can be geographically distributed. That is good for a few reasons, like regulation, war, natural disaster, and whatever. But this notion that you even would want to have more than maybe 20 or 25 is from a very basic misunderstanding of the purpose of decentralization. Decentralization is a security feature. And once you have sufficiently distributed the system such that it is secure under 99.9999999% of conceivable problems that could happen in the network, anything above that is just it's silly. It's more LARPing. It's a little bit masturbatory, and it doesn't produce any extra value. There is no value in decentralization itself when the system is sufficiently decentralized to be secure. And so, yes. Now, if you're talking about hash power, that's also kind of irrelevant. Like, everyone on Earth can run a mining rig, like a single rig in their house if they want to, or it can all consolidate again into like half a dozen farms. There is no actual difference. The network doesn't really care how fast the hashing works. So it's confusing. I don't want to get too into the weeds on it. I feel like I've already maybe gone too far. So thank you for the question, though. How can someone who is not a BSV techie help the ecosystem? I work admin at assisted living and memory care and think there's a lot of opportunity for micropayments for care staff. Can't code, though. So yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, every piece of technology does need its like fans and marketing and culture and those kind of things. There is value in those things. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. I'm not expecting everybody in the unit. When I say, hey, you need to go out there and build something, I'm not talking about necessarily you, the individual. I'm sort of a royal you, which includes me, in that we need to, as a culture, help mentor people into such things. So, if you're not particularly entrepreneurial, you're not particularly technical, I think a lot of people could do really well by, just creating a simple podcast or trying to be a guest on these things, making social media posts and whatever. Now, it's in stark contrast to my criticism generally of that being like almost everything that's happening in the blockchain space at all is like, hey, check out my podcast or read my tweets. But doing that well does have its own value from a outreach and marketing standpoint. But I would also encourage you, go to local meetups. I love meetups. I have done meetups for about a decade myself, and they're a really good way to get some face time with people who, might be curious, but don't actually understand how these systems work. And when you do those kind of things, it encourages the kind of conversations that lead to actually discovering this stuff. I can't tell you how many people have joined the Bitcoin ecosystem generically over the last, I don't even know, probably 10 or 12 years, because I met them at a meetup and talked about the things that Bitcoin could do. And they got super excited, and they're still in the business today. This includes some of like the big mining operations around the world and stuff, like people that I got into mining a decade ago. And, they're still here. They're still kicking, change their career, change their life. And they're still allies, and that kind of thing is really cool. So not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, but help find them, build them, connect them to the right places, and that requires a little bit of legwork. Geopolitical question: fast forward to BSV dominance, whole world on one chain. Are miners nationalized? How is hash rate distributed among global players? It's a good question. Good hypothetical. I do. So I'm gonna recall an old article by Daniel Krawitz, or maybe it was a podcast conversation. I don't even remember now, but I remember Daniel talking about this, where he explained how ultimately all wars should become hash wars at scale. That Bitcoin at scale becomes about economic competition, and I think that would be a good thing. And now people, the reason this came up is people saying like, the U.S. government could become the largest mining operation. They print money out of nothing, and then they can 51% attack the network, and everybody's hair is on fire. And he talked about like, no, it's a good thing. We want like Russia, China, the U.S., and Israel, and all these places that are all like in contention with each other, like mine about it instead of sending teenagers to war. And his analogy was way more eloquent than mine, but the concept was basically that competing to secure the network is much the same as the Nixon deal between the U.S. and China. Like, it would be much better for us to be economically bound and working together like co-opetition. We're kind of competing, but we're kind of friends. That's a lot better than having a hot war or a cold war between these nations for generations. I think that's basically right. So I think it's a good thing. Hash rate then distributes to people with cheap power, which then allows greater investment into power, which then brings up everybody. This is the cool thing about free market economics. When you create a competitive system, all the things around that competitive system become better, faster, cheaper, higher value for the consumer in the long term. There's obviously blips where things become too competitive, and that kind of sucks for various individuals. But I do think that it's on the long tail, we all benefit from it. So good question. Thank you. Is there any countries that are considering implementing BSV as digital cash? Probably not BSV the coin. There are certainly people that are very interested in using the ledger for something like a national stablecoin or a CBDC, the dirty word of the last 5 years or so. But I think the underlying asset becoming money in and of itself is probably a ship that has sailed. I do think that it will ultimately happen when the stuff that's on the ledger is really, really valuable, and you realize that the token itself does now make sense as a reserve asset. And then people will circle their way back to this idea eventually, I think, but we'll see. It's one of my little dreams that's just sort of floating out there now for a long time. Does Trump's USD $1, whatever their token is, threaten Tether? 100%. I think, I think anything that that is both liquid and backed and understood and is a stable dollar token is a bad thing for Tether, unless it is Tether that becomes the issuing bank of it, which I kind of think guys like Paulo, one of the co-founders over there at Tether, might be the CEO today. He wants to be that. He wants to be like the New World Order Federal Reserve asset issuer, but we'll see. Next question. Casey, what's going on with TonicPow, Kurt? I see you still using links for your CoinGeek articles, so would love an update. I'm probably not allowed to say. So the founder is Luke Rowanaz. Luke is a personal friend and a business ally, somebody I've liked working with for a very long time. It's also just one of the nicest guys and one of the smartest guys in the whole space. He created TonicPow like 6 years ago, something like that. It was I think the first BSV hackathon, and he got second place, if I recall. So he got an investment from Air Ventures to turn this thing into a business. Now, it was pretty successful right out the gate, but ultimately needed a lot of work done, and some of that dried up, and it got stuck in a state where what was happening with the company is that there was lots of people from the developing world that were gaming the system. And so Luke came up with a few ways to sort of mitigate, random people creating random links and trying to drain ad campaigns. And so a lot of it required okay, we need to create an identity protocol. We need to create so it became a kind of a big puzzle to solve. And it was determined that unless you were pre-approved, it needed to be put on pause. And so essentially TonicPow still exists. It still works. People click the links, you get paid and whatever. It's a really cool program in that it monetizes hyperlinks. So if I send you a CoinGeek article and you click my TonicPow link, I get paid, I think it's 11 cents a click or something like that. But it's up to CoinGeek and it's up to the influencer. So if, pick a pick a famous person. So if Taylor Swift were to send out CoinGeek links, she could maybe earn $1 a click or something like that, because CoinGeek would want to incentivize that. And there'd be, 1 million clicks, and that would work really nicely. TonicPow facilitates that affiliate payment. Now, it's like I said, I was pre-approved because I was like a beta user of the system, and it still works for me, but it is not currently accepting new users because there's not a good way to onboard new users without essentially doing one-on-one personal interviews. And Luke doesn't want to have a Zoom call with every single person that wants to use TonicPow right now. That is, however, being retooled. I know Luke is working on it among all the other things that he's working on, but he really wants to get that done because it's something that he loves. He loves that company and the product and the idea. And frankly, I do too. Casey, I know you're a social media maven yourself, and you have a lot of big ideas about social media that I understand why you like it and miss it, and I really, really hope to see it come back. I am doing my best to help in any way that I can to make that happen myself. John Kulesha, have you looked at the Tap Track project being built on ordinals? If not, could you take a look? Just a little bit. Not closely, so I kind of can't speak to the details, but I will check it out. I'll do a little more digging. Thank you for the question. Joey, I was wondering, do you use kettlebells? And if so, do you have the Gorilla kettles? I do use kettlebells. You might be able to see them. The camera will unfocus. That's my 35-pound kettlebell, the green one. But yes, I do use kettlebells basically between meetings. Kettlebells are the best for your posterior chain. So kettlebell swings are fantastic. I do not use the Gorilla ones because they are expensive and gimmicky, and the cheap ones work just as well. But I do every time I see one, I'm like, I should probably get one of those just because. But no, that's kettlebells are great. I also use I have a cable machine. I use free weights. I've got adjustable. You'll be able to see those too. I got adjustable dumbbells over here in the corner, and a bench. I have an adjustable bench right behind me as well. I do a lot of working out. It's my other thing. I missed last week. What's the deal with the hackathon, and will there be barbecue? It's Austin, so there is barbecue literally everywhere, and I will not be going to Austin unless I get my barbecue, and I am going to Austin, so if you want to join me on April 5th and 6th, I will be there. We can hang out. We could shake hands. You can maybe even give me a hug, but please shower beforehand. Yeah, the hackathon. Burped. I don't know if you heard that on the air, but It was an accident. The hackathon is put on by the Project Babbage in association with the BSV Association. I believe it's bsvhackathon.com. If you check it out, it is primarily focused on the quote-unquote MetaNet stack, which is largely developed by Project Babbage, but open sourced through the BSVA open license, open BSV license. I said that backwards, but essentially, hey, can you build overlay tools, identity tools, and some various other things using this stack? And if so, there's prizes. I think the grand prize is $30,000, and then second and third are some variation below that. But the total prize pool is like $55,000. And it is 2 days. It's not just an intro and then you get a month to work on. It's literally like, hey, get the thing done on April 5th and 6th, and you could be judged and paid something like 30 grand or a little bit less for your project. But pretty cool. We're going to be there. The Gorilla Pool people, we're taking a team. David and Luke will be there as well, and we're going to win. So, yeah, thanks for asking. And yes, I'm having barbecue. I don't know if I was clear about that. Is there something wrong with Lament? Culturally? What are we saying? I don't think so. I used Lament like a week ago. I put up a post or two, but I don't know, because I haven't looked in a week or two. So hope they're well. They are cool people. In fact, we were talking about having them come on the show. So hope everything's well. I will check as soon as I'm off the air. We have a little less than 10 minutes left. If we want to get a little spicy, we can bit of that. Actually, let me take a moment here to whet my whistle, and so let's play another ad real quick and then be back in like 30 seconds. Mr. Producer.
Choose your hero. Eldrick Soyhammer, Divine Crusader.
The time is now, champion. To war!
Jesus the Risen.
Blessed be the cheddar.
Boris, Protector of Innocence.
I'm all natural.
Solren, Scythe of the Damned.
Your soul is mine. No refunds.
Lilith, Princess of Hell.
Self-destruction is an art.
Wagyu, Tasty Samurai.
High-grade beef with a killer instinct.
Skibbity,
Skibbity.
Brain Rot Incarnate.
Skibbity dot dot.
Alrighty. Yep, we need to do the comment of the day, sponsored by Champions TCG. So let's snag a winner on the or across the screen. So let's play the. We're tumbling the lotto balls in the background with everybody's comments. Tumble, hit the vacuum. Carbon Craft. If you want to send a message to Real CoinGeek at Real CoinGeek on X, you can get your free cards from no longer Champions TCG, no longer Coon Battles, but Otherworldly TCG. And if you want to watch my show from 2 weeks ago, I had a guest from Otherworldly that you can check out in replay. Yes, that's right. All the episodes are available in replay. Go ahead and check them out. Let's bang through a few more of these questions here. Easy ones are fine. We can do like lightning round or whatever. It doesn't matter. Every time I think about this question, like somebody should ask a question, I'm reminded of my favorite quote from the movie Willy Wonka. There are no stupid questions, only stupid people. And so we will, on that note, answer a few more from my loyal fans. The space seems healthy without all the court drama. Thoughts? I agree. From day one, I have always said that court exists primarily because of a failure to communicate or cooperate. I am a firm believer that any time that you have a disagreement in business at all, it is always better to settle outside of court and move on. I've seen lots of lives destroyed by a refusal to do anything else. Who do we lobby to rebrand BSV into a one-to-one equivalent of BTC? For example, Bitcoin XBT. Whole point of Bitcoin Gold was to give an asterisk to Bitcoin Cash. I have no idea. I mean, given that all these things are open source, open license projects, I think you could probably just start doing it. I remember Handcash tried to do a what would you call that? Like a redenomination of, was it 100 sats or 500 sats or something like that? And call them duros, so that you were always competing for duros instead of Bitcoins or sats or dollars. And it didn't catch on because you had to explain to everybody what a damn duro was. And I thought it's a clever idea. It made sense once you looked at it. But at face value, everyone's like, what's a duro? Should I buy some? You know, and it's like, it's just, again, there are no stupid questions. So, not that your question was stupid. I just mean people in general, pretty thick. Is money like Tether in the way that it can provide liquidity to BSV? Are unused single public key, private key, paper wallets secure enough for holding? Oh, that's a twofer, John Blazingham. So thank you for sneaking in a twofer. Let's leave the question up so I don't get confused. Money is indeed like Tether in the way that it can provide liquidity to BSV. Where it is extra special is that it can provide liquidity to BSV on BSV. You just need a BSV AMM or automated market maker decentralized exchange, or an AMDEX. If you can create that, it is then you can be trading on BSV. You don't have to leave the network in order to do it. The way that Tether creates liquidity for BTC is in the dark chambers behind Binance, and they pump. So it's unfortunate. Second question is, are unused single public key, private key, paper wallet secure enough for long HODL? Yes, absolutely. You still have the issue that I talked about at the beginning of the show, and that somebody will have to query those UTXOs for you at some point. But any miner on the network would want people to have their coins. So, like, I can tell you, as long as Gorilla Pool exists, that's a service that we will help people with. But so yes, the answer is yes. Yes to both, actually. So next question, and probably only time for a couple, unless I'm real quick. Hey, Kurt, right before COVID, BSV spiked to 2.5 Ethereum. That would put BSV around 6K USD. Is it reasonable? Do you think it's possible again? I do. So I think BSV is severely undervalued. I think everything else is severely overvalued, and BSV does everything that any other blockchain can do, except for it does it better, faster, cheaper, more secure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so if the collective economy can start to realize what value actually means, and if they actually needed any of these things for anything, that would be it. It would be, that would be the value. So no, I think I don't think there's any reason that if BTC is $100,000 that BSV couldn't be $1 million. So that's how I feel about it. Joey Two Guns, what would it take to get a 2-hour stream? I would need tea. I would need a professional tea person to make me tea so I can wet my whistle a little more. My throat's feeling a little hoarse. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I guess more than anything, it's a little hard for me to. I'm like, this is a mostly dark room, and I have bright lights shining in my face to make it look good. So, like somebody like Joe Rogan probably does more drugs to make that possible, but also just the production environment is more conducive to that kind of conversation. Also, he lets people, like, he'll ask a question and somebody might give a 20-minute response, and so the fact that the show is very Bitcoin focused. Makes it that I don't have the opportunity to bring on lots of guests to talk about like pyramids or coyote migration patterns or elk hunting or jujitsu or comedy or any of these other things. Like Joe really is a renaissance man in all the things that he can cover well, and so I admire him for that. I have pigeonholed myself into the Bitcoin space, which is, for better or worse, makes it a little bit difficult to. Makes it a little difficult for me to do more than an hour for various reasons. So, Brett's question, yes, I think we can get him on. So, I honestly, Roger's somebody that inspired me many years ago to get into Bitcoin. I'd love to have him on the show. And I also liked his book, despite the fact that a couple people hate that I like his book. So, it is what it is. So. I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap. So thank you, everybody. You have been a delight. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert bell. Thank you to Rock Wallet and Otherworldly TCG. Thank you to Mr. Producer, who shall remain anonymous for the foreseeable future. If you want to hang out in person, you can see me tomorrow at Mining Disrupt. Yes, that's Wednesday near Fort Lauderdale. Or you can see me in Austin on April 5th, 6th. For the Babbage, the BSV hackathon. So yeah, make that happen, people. Again, like, subscribe, hit the alert bell. Please follow me on X. Share this across social media. Let them know that every once in a while we do an Ask Me Anything show where you can indeed ask me anything. Try to answer all the fun ones. Reminder to be good to each other. If you can't do that, then frankly, none of it's worth anything at all, and we should all quit. So, everybody, no, it's really been a pleasure here today. I would have nothing else to do with my hour here at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Tuesday. Tell your friends. Kurt Wuckert Jr.